In southwestern Slovakia, on the banks of the Danube and close to the borders with Austria and Hungary, lies Bratislava. It is the capital and largest city of the country, serving as its political, economic and cultural center. In the past, the city was an important coronation site of the Kingdom of Hungary, shaping its historical significance. In the city centre stands Grasolković Palace, built in the 18th century as the residence of Count Anton Grasolković. Today, it serves as the official residence of the President of Slovakia and is surrounded by publicly accessible gardens. On Župný Square in the historic centre stands the Trinitarian Church of St. John of Matha and St. Felix of Valois, built in the early 18th century for the Trinitarian order. The church is designed in the Baroque style, with a distinctive dome that dominates the surrounding space. On a facade in the wider city centre, the Digital Life mural appears as a contemporary public artwork focused on themes of digital society. It is part of a recent wave of urban art in Bratislava that uses public space to communicate current topics visually. In the eastern part of the Old Town stands the Church of St. Elizabeth, known as the Blue Church. Built in the early 20th century. It was designed by Hungarian architect Erdőn Lechner in the Art Nouveau style, with its distinctive blue facade and decorative elements. In front of the church stands the memorial to the unborn children, dedicated to the remembrance of unborn life. In the historic centre lies Larinska Street, one of the main pedestrian streets of the Old Town. It connects key city points and is known for its shops, restaurants, and preserved urban layout. In the city's public space stands the giant bicycle rack, an installation by Czech artist David Černý. The work reinterprets an everyday object at an enlarged scale and is part of Bratislava's contemporary urban art scene. On the main square in the historic centre stands the Old Town Hall, one of the oldest preserved public buildings in Bratislava. The complex developed gradually from the 13th century and today functions as a city museum. At the centre of the Old Town lies Hlavné náměstí, the main square of Bratislava and the historical focal point of public life. It is surrounded by historic buildings of various styles and has long served as a site of trade and civic events. In the historic centre lies Michalska Street, one of the oldest and most important streets in Bratislava. The street leads to Michael's Gate, the only preserved city gate from the medieval fortifications. Its present appearance dates from an 18th century Baroque reconstruction, when the distinctive tower with a statue of St. Michael was added. Directly beneath Michael's Gate, a ground marker displays distances from Bratislava to various cities around the world. On the hill above the Danube stretch the fortification walls of Bratislava Castle. Part of a defensive system developed across different historical periods. The walls served to protect the castle as a strategic point overlooking the city and the river crossing. On the western edge of the Old Town stands St. Martin's Cathedral, the largest church in Bratislava and a former coronation site of Hungarian rulers. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, kings and queens of the Kingdom of Hungary were crowned here. Spanning the Danube is the SNP Bridge, known as the UFO Bridge. Completed in the second half of the 20th century as a key transport link in the city. At the top of its pylon sits an observation deck and restaurant shaped like a flying saucer, one of Bratislava's recognizable modern landmarks. Near St. Martin's Cathedral stands the Holocaust Memorial, dedicated to Jewish victims of World War II in Bratislava. The monument is located on the site of a former synagogue that was demolished in the 20th century. On a hill above the Danube stands Bratislava Castle, one of the city's key symbols and an important historic fortress. Its present form is the result of a 20th century reconstruction after the original structure was severely damaged by a fire in the 19th century. From the observation deck of the UFO tower, there is a panoramic view of the Danube. The historic Old Town and the wider urban area of Bratislava. From this height, key city landmarks are clearly visible, including bridges, historic buildings, and newer districts. banks of the Danube, Bratislava reveals how a city is shaped through centuries of political, cultural, and infrastructural change. The layers we have traced remain embedded in its structure, from fortifications to modern vantage points. And as the city continues to evolve, one question remains. What mark will the next generations leave behind?